live.
Hey everyone, this is Jake Tonkel. I'm here with Celeste Walker, Senator Jim Beall's District Director. We wanted to give you an update today on some of the challenges that people are facing when applying for unemployment. We know that the economy's taken a hit, and we want to make sure that all of our neighbors, families, friends are prepared and getting the resources they need. I'm going to pass it over to her and just let her go through a quick presentation on what people are talking about. If you have questions, feel free to jump on, comment, and we'll do our best to address them towards the end. I've got a couple of questions myself, and we'll just see how it goes. Celeste,
awesome.
Over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen so I can play my EDD talk here. I did not expect to become an expert on EDD, but I'm excited to be with you guys tonight. So yeah, my name is Celeste Walker. I am the founder and chair of Orchard City Indivisible and the district director here in the office of Senator Jim Beall. I want to go over a couple different types of assistance. I know for many people who are applying to unemployment right now, this is probably the first time you've had to do this. But very briefly, there's two types of help that you can receive from the EDD in terms of unemployment insurance. One is the traditional one that most people have probably heard of before, unemployment insurance. The second type is pandemic unemployment assistance. This is new since COVID. And then the third type of support that you can get if you are an undocumented Californian is help through the community as disbursed by the state. So first of all, for those of you who have not worked with the EDD, that is California's Employment Development Department. I have listed their website there. The website is pretty thorough and improving every day. If you are just starting to navigate it for the first time, it's a little less glitchy than it was in the last couple weeks. It's improving. And they have streamlined some things that were very complicated a few weeks ago. So the first help that you can receive from the EDD is traditional unemployment. This is going to cover most people most of the time. This is for folks who receive W-2s or W-2s and 1099s for their work. So you could be eligible if your employment has been affected in any way by COVID. That can be you're still fully employed, but you're concerned that your hours are going to be cut. It could mean that your hours have already been cut. It could mean that you're not working at all because you were laid off due to COVID. Or it could mean that you're caring for somebody who has recently come into your care because of COVID. So for a lot of folks, that means you're caring for a child who was previously in school and is now doing virtual learning. The second bucket, which was just recently introduced by the state on April 28th, is pandemic unemployment assistance. This was meant to catch all the folks who could not apply for traditional unemployment insurance. So business owners, independent contractors, people who are self-employed, gig workers, people who are mostly receiving 1099s or something other than a traditional W-2. The eligibility criteria is very similar if you've had some changes in employment due to COVID-19. So let's say you are a Uber or Lyft driver and your fares have been cut down to a fraction of what you were doing before, that would be you. Or any criteria related to health issues your own or somebody that you're caring for due to COVID-19. So this question is something we've been getting in our office for people who are not necessarily US citizens. Some people who are not US citizens are able to collect unemployment insurance or pandemic unemployment assistance. You must be able to show that you are in satisfactory immigration status and authorized to work when you were earning wages in the state in order to set up your claim. You have to have proof that you're currently in satisfactory immigration status and that you're allowed to work in the US the weeks that you're applying for benefits. I want to make sure it's very clear. The EDD does verify immigration status with the Department of Homeland Security. I don't know if that information is shared both directions, but I would caution folks to be careful if they're concerned about having an interaction with the Department of Homeland Security, not to necessarily apply. I'm speaking from experience working with constituents, not in my role here at the office, but that's something that I think people should be aware of. People have been asking, what do you need to have to apply? So you need to have evidence of your citizenship or authorization to work, your social security number, your driver's license or ID card, and either have a green card or a visa if you're not a US citizen. And then you need to have some information about your work history. So they ask backwards 18 months, so specifically about your most recent employer. And that, if you are applying for pandemic unemployment assistance, maybe yourself, if you're a 1099 worker. You've probably heard about the extra $600 a week. So the EDD is paying out the $600 a week that was approved through the CARES Act. So that's the federal program. You don't need to do anything beyond apply for the UI or the PUA to receive the $600 a week. This gets automatically added into your benefits. So the first week of payments that this was added was after that bill was passed. April 4th is the first week people are eligible, and that goes through the end of July. It's possible that something else is going to come along in another CARES Act. I know that there's discussion about that right now at the federal level that may extend that further depending on how the pandemic progresses and how unemployment is looking. But the good news about this money and benefits in general is it's all retroactive. So even if you haven't applied until today, you're able to apply for benefits all the way back to March 16th, which was the date that that California declared a state of emergency due to the pandemic. And then you'll be able to begin collecting that extra $600 a week starting on April 4th. So on April 15th, Governor Newsom announced a one-time disaster relief fund for undocumented Californians who have been impacted by COVID-19. And we know there are a lot. So for the people who are ineligible for other types of pandemic assistance, so either that UI, the PUA, or don't fall under the categories that are covered by the CARES Act, the governor did set aside $125 million. This is a one-time payment. It's not a weekly or biweekly payment, set at $500 per adult. There's a maximum of $1,000 per household. So up to 2 adults in one household may receive this. Because of concerns about dealing with government entities, CDSS, the Department of Social Services, is working directly with community-based nonprofit organizations to reach out to people in the community who need this type of assistance. So those are going to be community rooted, not government agencies. And we're expecting that those agencies are going to be notified and going to begin reaching out to the community starting in the middle of this month. So hopefully very soon. If you need additional help, there's 3 main points of contact for state help with EDD. First is the EDD itself. I know, because we get calls every day, how frustrating it is. A lot of times you'll call and there's so many other callers that the number just hangs up on you. So if you cannot get through for EDD help, your state assembly person, Evan Lowe, and your state senator, Jim Beall, our boss, we're here to help. We have staff in the office and staff working remotely available to help with the application process, which can be very confusing. And I'm going to go stop my screen share so we can have a chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Celeste.
Yeah.
We had a couple of questions that we just start off, and we'll see if we get any from the audience. But
okay.
I know there have been a lot of people that are expressing the fact that they're not seeing some of their unemployment benefits happen promptly. Have you gone through this process and realized how long it usually takes from your application to approval to actually receiving, the money that you might need to get through your daily.
Yeah. So the short answer is it's taking longer than I wish it was taking. Typically, the turnaround is 10 days from the time that you apply until you get your first letter in the mail, which gives you either your approval or your account number so that you can finish creating your online account. For some folks, it's taking a little bit longer. That can be for a few reasons. Sometimes they need more information from people. Sometimes they have to verify employment. Most people, when they apply for UI or PUA, get a card in the mail from Bank of America, which is who the EDD works with for benefits. So you got basically a debit card. And I've been talking to people who they get their approval, then they get their card, and then they check the balance on their card, and there's not necessarily money there yet. So there can be yet another delay. For some people, I know it took under 2 weeks from the application to the day they had money on their card. Other people have been waiting closer to 2.5 months now. So there's not really a good average, but it's supposed to take about 2 weeks total.
Makes sense. The next question we had was around the community organizations that are going to be delivering the emergency aid for those undocumented Californians. And if the senator's office or you in your work with OCI had an idea of which community organizations in San Jose are going to be offering this assistance.
We haven't heard yet. I'm assuming that the reason that they're doing it this way is so that they can choose organizations that are already established in the community that people are comfortable working with. So it's not going to be some, to my knowledge, new organization that people haven't interfaced with. They're going to go towards organizations that people are already interacting with for support. And this is going to be another component of support that they can receive. So I have not heard yet which organizations.
Appreciate it. The last question I'll ask, what can workers from non-essential businesses expect as the economy begins to slowly reopen this summer? I know you mentioned there's stuff questioning whether the extension on these additional checks for unemployment are going to go on, but we'd be curious to know.
So would we?
Fair enough.
I think there's a couple things that we can speak to on this. One is, you may have heard the governor speak today that some parts of California are going to begin the first part of phase 2 reopening. So this is some non-essential employees are going to be able to go back to work. So it's retail stores that are going to do door pickup, nothing high contact, all still very low risk. In Santa Clara County and actually all 7 Bay Area counties, we are still going to be under the more stringent shelter in place order until the end of May. So not everybody is participating in the reopening at the same speed. So I'd say it's safe to say that if you're in Santa Clara County, not much is going to change for you during the month of May, including your benefits. It's going to be that base of somewhere between $127 and $470 some dollars plus $600 a week. And day to day probably won't be changing too much. I would assume if there's not a big spike in cases as we near June, that the county will probably come to the level that the rest of the state is at with reopening some of those non-essential businesses. But we only know based on the CARES Act so far that it's been funded through the end of July, but it sounds likely that something's going to come before the House and the Senate at the federal level for the CARES 2 Act here in the next couple weeks. And I assume that's going to have funding for unemployment.
It's a perfect pivot. What we did want to make sure we had in place tonight was an opportunity for people to take some action, help implement some stronger protections for essential workers, for those that are on unemployment, even perhaps for some undocumented Californians, undocumented Americans. And So we do have the Essential Workers Bill of Rights that is being proposed as well at the federal level that we were hoping people could make phone calls for. This is an avenue that's been very effective in some of the other grassroots and local groups, OCI included, for making change in our community, because we can only do so much here. A lot of what happens in terms of these funding comes from the federal level. So the Essential Workers Bill of Rights, it will cover farm workers to bus drivers, healthcare workers, and those on the front lines. Some of them are in spaces where they do not have proper protective equipment. So it adds additional standards for worker protection, safety standards, and then job protections. We've heard reports and newspaper articles have been coming out that essential workers are being paid less than those on unemployment in some cases, with the addition of the $600 unemployment check, but could not quit their job to get unemployment because then they would not qualify as being laid off. So it really has trapped a certain group of people in this unfortunate space where they're still having to work some dangerous jobs and be on the front lines, even if they're not comfortable, and then make less money as a result. So it is something we really want to advocate for at an upper level to make sure that there's strong protections here. For us, it means reaching out to our Congress people, Eshu and Loughran. We will post their phone numbers in the comments section after this as well, so that people can jump on and make those calls. It would be a huge benefit to everyone in our community and the community as a whole across the United States to get these protections in place. So with that, we want to keep these action nights quick. Celeste, thank you very much for coming on. You've been an amazing asset to the community as well and doing a lot of great work in the center's office. We hope to connect again. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Have a good night, everybody.